Hello everyone, my name is Relax and Panic and this is another reaction to the Monogatari series. It is Hanamonogatari episode 4 and you know what to do as always. If you want to see the reaction itself, go down into my descriptions, follow the links, replace the circumflex.parts with real dots and enjoy. Once you've done, feel free to come back here and hear out my thoughts about this episode. So, see you soon. For those that came back, welcome back. Now, there was a lot in this episode. I mean, I already said it was a really good episode. I liked it. The thing with the Monogatari series is there are episodes who really stretch out and where, at least I very often feel like, oh my, where is this leading to? Why do they take so much time? And then we have, in most cases, the finales, who are the exactly opposite, where it's all coming together and is so much and so good. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Why didn't I see that before? And stuff like that. And possibly you are looking like, yeah, he didn't catch that. Okay, let's go through this. As I said, a bit more here this time. And first thing, the art style. Holy heck, this episode was so good. I really like it. If you just take this picture here as example, you have the drawn art, which reminds me a lot of very old fairy tale books, which I know from, well, I read some of them when I was young and I've seen illustrations like that. But even then, those books were old. They're like, I don't know, 1900 around. So I had to think of that when I saw it, and it shows a little bit the misery of her being a dark person as well here. So the inner darkness is being shown as well. It all feels a little bit depressed. It all feels a little bit too dark, too gloomy. And then you have the picture up here, the window light. And there was one in the beginning of the episode, I mentioned it. It's paper cuts, and I really like that. The figures in the outro in the past and in some other scenes very often looked like paper cut persons. So you take a piece of paper and you cut with a scissor, and it looks weird because the paper is so thin and moves very on its very own. And it's extremely two-dimensional by being so thin. And they made paper cuts for like everything in the intro this time, in the beginning of the episode. And I really liked that. It looked really good. So a nice idea, a very nice thing. For this picture, I found something else as well, because on the side here, you can see an apple. I think it is an apple lying there, or two. And if you put it together with what I said first, fairy tales from the past, it looks like a huge princess or queen bed. There's a window which is very much like in a fairy tale, too big, too pompous, you know. And then you have I don't know what the English word is, commode, something like that. So the drawer here, and an apple on it. So that looks a bit like a fairy tale itself. So perfectly fit. Then well, we had, in the end, 4 characters in this time. 5 characters in this time. Just had to remember there was one more. And possibly a 6th if you count the girl that was in the past. So let's go through here. She said, Numachi said, and that's a constant thing in this episode, even the worst evil saves someone. So, there was a moment when I thought like, okay, is she kind of hoping that the devil, when she puts it together, will somehow save her, in the meaning of maybe restore her leg or whatever. But I asked myself if maybe she was referring to herself, or is she referring to Kaiki? There are many options. If she would be referring to herself as the evil, as something not good, that would be a sad thing. If you see yourself as being evil, then is something wrong, because normally everyone sees himself as somehow of a good person. Oh my, I just realized something. Holy heck. I just saw, if you look at this picture here again, and you look at the window closely, you can see there's a cross, which is the nose, an eye, and like a snout beneath, and it looks the eye is not eyes, but hornets instead. Horns. And it looks like the devil. Holy heck! I didn't see that before. Talking about the devil and you see him. So back to my theory. Everyone thinks of himself as a positive person, as a good person. Even if you do something bad, something evil, you later on at least try to tell it to yourself and sell it to yourself as I had reasons to do it. It was needed, it was necessary. I'm not a bad person. Stuff like that. You always try. There are things where you realize you can't undo it and you can't make them good. And then you are trying to tell yourself, well, it was a slip. It happened, I'm sorry. I will do something good to even it out, you know, stuff like that. So in general, even if it doesn't work, it's not about if this is a good way of living. But people always try to pretend to themselves to be good, you know? So if someone says, I'm really evil, I'm the most evil, by the way, greetings to most evil life form. If someone says something like that, that's a weird way of looking. By saying I'm an evil person, it's more like a playing. You know, you play with the idea of it. But if someone really believes that, I would say this person really has issues, has problems. But what if she was talking about Kaiki? Kaiki is perceived by many as a bad person. Not saying evil, but bad person. He cons people, he goes for the money, he acts as though he doesn't care, and we know that's not true. So he saves someone, which we know is true. I mean, he saved Senjugahara. I'm pretty sure he did save one or two others in the past as well. Possibly even more, although he would never admit it. But he does not only save them. The problem is, by saving, he goes for his own benefits very often as well. This is why it's not perceived as positive. If you have someone who saves people, you want this person to be this heroic idea, this angel-like thing, this coming to the rescue and not wanting anything for it. And that's not Kaiki. He saves you, but he takes from you what you have. And that's a problem. That's why people don't see it as being saved. She stated that an angel can possess an evil person for a moment. So there's an option that someone who is bad can do good things. I completely agree. It's a bit too much with this saying an angel takes over, but in general, sure. Even those persons who are perceived bad and evil, as I stated before, do good things from time to time. As example, because they really want to, which I hope, or because they want to like even up their stats, even up their karma, whatever you want to call it. We had Dori Ruka, who was the first person with the leg. And that's interesting. So she said she met her, and afterwards she called Kaiki. So she met her and wanted to help her. I'm not sure about this. There could be a lot in... We have not really seen Dori, I think. I asked myself if this person was real. I'm not sure. She might have been a real person, and it might be as Numachi sees it and told us. But it might as well, in my opinion, somehow be like a metaphor for herself. That it was herself having problems with her legs, kicking the shit out of her mother, having problems with her mother, wanting to kill her mother. And we learned later on that Numachi had a lot of problems at home with her parents. So it would be fitting. So what I mean is this person, Dori, could be a metaphor for Numachi herself. That she kind of sees herself as another person there. And is not able to accept the fact that it was her, or not willing to accept it. That it was her who needed to be saved in this moment, who was you know, gone. But as I say, that's just one option. If it would be a metaphor, then she tried to save herself, and she did it in the end, by taking the last step, sadly enough. But it could as well be that this was a real person, and she wanted to help this real person. Which brings in the question, if she was a real person, just think about it. That means that a girl, Numachi, who has her very own miseries, a lot of problems, depression and everything, is completely down. You know, she can't even handle her own life. She really is at the end of her way of what she wants to do. She doesn't know the direction anymore. And this person meets someone else who's in misery as well, and completely forgets about her own misery in this moment, and just says, I will help you. I will do whatever I can for you. So this will to help someone else is a positive thing. It's a nice thing. And then she meets Kaiki. So, as I said, I see two options, and Kaiki steps in. The interesting question here is, when did he step in? Did he step in before or after she killed herself? I'd like to think that he steps in after she died. He's knowledgeable, he knows enough about aberrations and everything that he's able to see her. He possibly has his very own miseries, no question there. So I think they meet the first time after she did die, after she killed herself. As we learned, she's a ghost. Possibly at least a ghost. So maybe that's it. He sees her, he realizes that she is, well, kind of a positive ghost, as strange as it sounds. Does something good for everyone, and she has a meaning in this world. So he lets her go. That's option one. And when she asks him about her problem later on. Oh yeah, no, they met before, sorry. But was she dead there already? I'm not sure. That's a weird thing. So as I said, maybe he met her before or after. So maybe she was a ghost at this time. Or she wasn't and was already going around collecting miseries, talking to people about their miseries. I'm not sure if this is a good thing to do. She's kind of pushing herself deeper there. However, then she met the girl, and she calls Kaiki and asks for a favor. So the fact that she's calling him would make it very likely she's alive at this moment, because a ghost normally can't use a phone. But then, who says? The one thing is, maybe she could. And the other thing is, what she tells to us is that she called him. What if she just talked to him, appeared at his side, whatever you want to call it, and for her own inner beliefs, because she's not aware that she's a ghost, she doesn't want to see that she's a ghost, as others did in the past. She transforms this talk into, I called him. It still is possible. In this moment, here in this bed, before she went to sleep, she wanted to help the girl. Either this is the moment where she killed herself, and by Kaiki, by saying, I will take over, but it will cost you, as hard as it sounds, was aware of this fact, and the cost is her life. Or he even I don't think he wouldn't have made her kill herself. That's an option. If you would see it from a perspective of a very bad person, you could say, sure, I can solve your problems if you kill yourself. You know, that's a devilish way of doing it. But even Kaiki wouldn't do that. He goes for his own benefits, but he isn't cruel. So he wouldn't do that. So I ask myself, maybe he had a itch of what it would be. I'm not sure. I really am not sure. And even later on, when they met in this season, he didn't tell her that she's a ghost, that she's dead. So, strange thing here. 3 years ago. Long time ago. There's a lot, as I said, there's a lot in this episode which you can think about and throw in one way or another. When she woke up, she had the leg. I think it is absolutely clear that in this moment she was dead. That was a moment when she already killed her. The question is, did she kill herself at this evening after talking to the girl, or did she do it some time before already? Okay. I got that. Then she stated that the devil makes miseries permanent, and that's why he is like an enemy to her. That is true. She's kind of the opposite. It's interesting. She talks to people and makes people forget about their problems by saying, I will take care of it. And once they can put the miseries away, they can put their problems away and just go on with their lives. And as she said, most of those problems solve themselves. So she kind of says, just forget and time will solve it. It's not permanent. And the devil is the complete opposite, by hearing your problems and then making them permanent. Making sure you never forget about them. You now have them forever. So she's kind of the opposite, and she collects these devil parts. And by doing so, very likely she does something good. So she is a positive spirit in this kind of way. The sad thing about it is the fact that she is miserable. Not very deep. She says she feels good when she takes those miseries from people. So there, she has kind of a benefit from it. The universe, whatever you want to call it, gave her this work, being aware of that she's good for it, you know. But still, it is a sad thing because she herself will never find the happiness that she, in the end, wished to Kambaru. So that's really depressing. Yeah, then she said, and this is where we're going for directly, I wish you a good human life. So by stating this, there's the one thing where I ask myself, is she aware that she's a ghost? Because if she says, I wish you a good human life, sure, she could reflect to the fact that she has devil parts. But it might as well be possible that she is aware of being a ghost, and that turns things around. When did she learn? How did she learn? I am not sure. So, thing is, her background story and what happened is really, really sad. So, we learned more stuff from her from Karen. So she killed herself, she cut her wrists, and died, and no one did see it coming because she was a joyful girl, which is once again the thing. I think we talked about this before, about the things inside you and the outer picture. The person you play for others, as Aragi later on mentions as well. So to the outside, to everyone of her friends and everyone, she was a joyful and happy girl. On her inside, as we know from her by now, by what she said, she was depressed, she was possibly very lonely. We learned later on from Karen she had problems at home. So there was a lot of deep, dark and down emotions in her. And she didn't show it to the outside. She just put it in herself until she couldn't take it anymore. And she pulled the last stop. Typical problem, how things happen like that. So that's a sad story. She wishes Kambaru to have a friend, to finish her exams, to have kids, to watch her kids grow up and so on. And by saying so, you can really feel and you know that she wanted something like that for herself. So that is a sad thing, definitely is. That's the first big part of this episode and was really good. As I said, a lot in it. A lot and a lot and a lot. And if you look one last time on this picture, you can see now we have the devil in, but it is surrounded by light. So a very interesting, a very nice thing there to show. There is no absolute evil, there is no absolute God. Or good, as she said. Which brings us to Aragi. So Kambaru is running and laying in the middle of the street, as always very clever. but I can see why she needed to get it out of her system. And a car stops by and it is Aragi. Well, not talking about the fact that he's driving a yellow Beetle. Interesting choice. But well, it was the choice of his parents, so okay. And it's very fitting if you see the clothes of his sister, who are very much on the yellow side and bright always. So maybe it's something they get from their parents, possible. But he is so different, and that's interesting because how do you see yourself? How see others yourself? One thing, and the other thing is he finished his exams, so he has grown up a bit as well. So maybe he even changed his clothing style. Whatever. What is very clear to me is he looks way hotter, in the meaning of, you know, like boy band hot. You know, even the dress, what he's wearing. His hair is different and everything. He is like an upgraded, oh my, he's so nice. He's so attractive version. So we see it from Kanbaru, which means she sees him definitely different than he does himself. He sees him very much like an emo guy. I like it. It's a nice thing. And he's very, very wise, which is a good thing. You can see that he's growing. And I ask myself if maybe this wiseness was in him before already in the last seasons, but we never realized it in depth because it was from his viewpoint and he didn't realize that he was clever. We had a very nice talk there. A build up, you know, he tried to build up Kanbaru again. To help her stand on her own feet again. And it's very fitting. She's lying there all the time. And remember, when she met Kaiki, she lay on the ground and she was put up like a kitten. So here we have it again. She's lying in the back of the car and mumbling to herself, having problems. And Aragi is talking to her. And in the end, when she finds her inner spirit, when she said, I know what I want to do now, she sits up again. So it's once again one of those symbolic acts. And this series is full of symbols. So what they talked about is another quite important thing about being yourself. What would be like me? What does it mean? That is not like you. If you do something and someone tells you that's not like you. That's a good question, and even Aragi couldn't answer directly. Aragi, what would be a typical thing for like you? What you would say, it is like me. There are moments, you know, when you do something and people look at you like, and you are, oh yeah, okay, that was a typical me. Yeah, that's me. So what? But that's the moment, it's you. And that is the thing what it's about. What are you? You are what you want to be, not what someone else wants to be. And that's the important thing here. So Aragi points that out very clearly. Everyone plays roles for everyone. For others. You play a role for your parents. You play a role for, if you have siblings. You play a role for comrades, friends, your lover, and possibly co-workers. So, and for everyone you meet on the street and everywhere, you play a role. You know how you should behave in public, how you should behave socially, how you should behave towards your boss, and so on and so forth. And then you set up a role for it. The role is somewhere between how you possibly should be, or you think you should be, and how you really are. And somewhere between the role is. So I can speak for myself. I clearly behave differently with, let's say, as example, co-workers than I do with friends. I'm very close to my co-workers already, but my friends are my friends. They know me way longer. They know me deeper and better, and they are allowed to know more of me than my co-workers do. You know. In general, because they know me better and I know I can trust them more. So I can show them more sides of me. But in the end, we do play a role for everyone. We have a mask in front of our face, who we are to others. So who are really. The important thing is, don't lose yourself. Be who you want to be. Decide what kind of person you want to be. What is valid to you and what is not. What is important to you and what is not. Who you make friendships with. What is the job you want to do, not the one you have to do. Try to aim for the first one. So all this stuff, it is, and she decided, she heard it, she took it in, and she said, I will go on and fight. So this is where we are going. And yeah, so she's back on track. I like that. That was a real good one here. A good episode with a lot of deep meaning, as always, so often. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the review. It was one I really liked. And I will see you the next time. Until then, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. My name is Relax and Panic. Goodbye and out.